Good morning, everybody. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Donc, je vous remercie. Vous avez la
Good morning, everyone. You have interpretation in English and French. My name is Boto. I'm the briefing coordinator on behalf of organizers, namely CTA, the ACP Secretariat, the European Commission, CONCORD, which is a development NGO platform in Europe. And we are delighted to also welcome E.Frison from IPES-FOOD. You were managing director of UNIBAP, and I learned a lot on bananas, thanks to you. I also managed the Brussels CTA office. It's an ACP EU-funded headquarters with a small office in Brussels. We are dealing with a very interesting topic today, and we have many speakers. So we'll have to make sure we manage our time as much as possible. So very interesting topic, agroecology for ACP countries is a critical aspect for sustainable agriculture and rural development. In the developments you received, there's a definition provided by FAO, and I take that opportunity to thank FAO colleagues who helped organizing this. It defines this as an integrated approach that seeks to minimize interactions between vegetables and animals and humans, as well as the environment in their practices, and including the social aspect to ensure sustainable food systems and also fair systems. We have two panels in this program where we're going to look at various dimensions of agroecology and the impact on sustainable agricultural systems. We're going to demonstrate that there are innovative systems already implemented on the ground and which can be taken to scale. We'll try to understand the relevance of agroeconomy and agricultural choices and their impact on the management of natural resources and healthy eating. And we'll try to see how we can support household farms. I would like to thank the chairperson of EuropeAid, and we can build on existing local practices and innovative practices. We'll try to look at the impact of those changes for our consumption models, as well as the policies that we need to put into place in order to ensure a smooth food and agricultural transition. So this is the 59th Brussels briefing, last but one, on rural development. This has been in existence since 2007, run by DevCo at the European Commission, which works closely with other general directions. We have the cooperation of the ACP Secretariat and CTA. So we are here at ACP House, African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States Secretariat. We're always very welcome, to the point that people keep wanting to come back. So we'd like to thank the Secretary General and the Assistant Secretary General, Gnassounou. Thank you for hosting us today. And I'll give you the floor now for a few introductory remarks. Thank you. Thank you very much, Isolina. And I'd like to thank all those who came this morning. I'll be brief because we started late, and as you said, we have to manage time with a very busy agenda. And we have specialists here on those issues that will give us more information on those issues. And I do apologize for arriving late, which caused the late start of this meeting. I'd like to thank CTA for initiating this event. We are always delighted to welcome you at ACP House. The European Commission and ourselves find this process particularly relevant. This process has gained scope over time, and it kept its relevance, and we are hoping that we can preserve it in other shapes or forms in the future. I'd like to highlight the theme of today's briefing, agroecology for sustainable food systems. About 4 or 5 years ago, this notion emerged. We didn't know whether it would still exist, or whether it wouldn't be something provided by countries of the north and imposed on countries of the south. And the definition that I like focuses on finding a way of putting science at the service of agricultural practices on the ground. And I think that's very telling. At the ACP level, we work closely with family farms, which we find are the most suitable to meet the challenges we face today. And the underlying issues of agroecology and family farming is the scaling up of those practices. We need to find sustainable models, models that can, through which we can feed the close to 9 billion inhabitants we have, a number which will increase twofold in a few years. So that's the challenge. We are fully aware of the agricultural practices, and I'm sure the experts gathered here will highlight the challenges we face in implementing those practices and taking them to scale. Those who are active on the ground will tell us how they see things evolving and how to take those practices to scale. So that's the challenge. We are grateful that many have committed to this process, which creates a link between science, agricultural practices, and social movement, because at the end of the day, it's lifestyle that we try to promote through agroecology. So we are delighted to have you here, and we look forward to hearing more and seeing how we can provide you support in strengthening this approach. FAO has made it a central theme. There's even an information hub on the an information portal on the FAO website. So we are, of course, fully available to keep working with farmers' movements. I take the opportunity to thank the chairperson of EuropeAid, who's signed an agreement with the AU, and it's always good that we have organizations from the regional communities that stand alongside producers to help them go to scale. So once again, welcome to all, and we are looking forward to some lessons we can draw from these discussions. Thank you very much. I won't go through the bio data in detail, and I'll give the floor to Leonard Mizzi, who is the head of unit at DevCo, C1, dealing with rural development, food security, nutrition, climate change, so a whole range of sectors, because we want to adopt a holistic and multi-sectoral approach. Thank you for being here, Mr. Mizzi. You have the floor.
Vanu, and I thank CTA for hosting under the ACP auspices today's event. When we were discussing what topic should we organize in the early part of 2020, given that the Brussels briefings are coming to an end, we said we have to choose a topic which, one, is linked as much as possible to the priorities of the new Commission. And clearly, after the unveiling of the Green Deal, I think this is a key topic which can contribute to the Green Deal, whether we speak about the European Union or our part of the developing world. But also, it's an important topic to discuss when we are at the end of a cycle of programming and we are in pre-programming stage, where, as you know, there is a big expectation in terms of the multi-annual financial framework, where 2020 is the key period of reflection at country level, regional level, of what we want to do in the new programming period starting in 2021. And when you discuss agroecology, for those who are a bit close to this business of agroecology, I think Isolina made reference to the concept. I will not enter into the definitional issues. This was quite a controversial topic during the agroecology symposium that was organized in FAO a few years ago. Although agroecology today is much more understood, it still, in some fora, creates uncertainty, tension, tension about definitions, about concepts, about what it entails, how it is scaled up. And even within the European Union, there are those who would be very much in favor, those who are more lukewarm to the concept. So even amongst member states, there could be those who are extremely open, and there are strong agroecology movements. I would just mention France would be probably amongst the most avant-garde, although now even countries like Germany are quite open to the concept, and others which are less. So I think the first important process is, within the European Union concept, is to scale this knowledge and to scale this know-how at member states level, also to keep up the momentum of the Green Deal. Now we have also within the Green Deal, specifically on agriculture, the farm to fork. So the first thing which has to be done also across the different services, and we are trying also to do it because I was a bit involved in trying to find a common position across all the services, meaning DG Agri, DG Environment, JRC, RTD, to have a clear vision of the positioning of the European Commission services on agroecology. But most importantly today, I think what is important, and that's why we brought with CTA the key players on agroecology, is because I think we need also to use this momentum to identify how agroecology principles can actually be scaled up at country level. Because we can speak a lot about agroecology, but this has to be country-driven. And when we do programming, it has also to be bought by ministers of agriculture, ministers of environment, at country level. I still think that a lot can be done, more can be done within the African continent in particular to actually put agroecology at the core of the continental agricultural policy process. We speak a lot about the CADEP process, but in the CADEP process, you don't hear much about CADEP and agroecology. So one of the questions I think one needs to discuss is to what extent CADEP can actually embrace agroecology principles. We have, since 2017, built up a strong portfolio on agricultural research as Commission services, which is the development smart innovation through research in agriculture, which is the DASIRA program, which is part of the One Planet Summit contribution to the challenges around climate change. We started with the Sahel, we continued in the Horn, and now it's quite global. So I think it's also important that those who want to scale up at country, regional level, approach our delegations, in particular now that we will start in the coming months a programming phase at country level, so that when a country speaks about wanting to put a food systems transformation approach in its agenda, agroecology has a role in that transformation process. And I think that is important, and we would like not only to have good scalable cases, because there are a number of good scalable cases, but pragmatic approaches which are embedded precisely in policy making. Because if you are not having a clear policy approach at country level or a sub-regional level, then we can say whatever we want about how nice is the agroecology process. It has also to be done in a holistic way, where through our support also to farmers' organizations, and ROPA is one of them, through a support process to a social movement approach, but also quite a seismic shift in how we handle food systems beyond the silo approach of looking in a fragmented approach. This could be the way forward. We also have the forest communication and the council conclusions of the end of December, which can give us an impulse also on, in particular, agroforestry. This, we are trying to do it also in a value chain approach, because agroecology, just for the sake of being, I wouldn't say in a romantic mode, it has also to be in a livelihoods mode. So if we speak about agroforestry or an agroecology approach in a cocoa value chain, and this is an area which is close to the ACP, given that there is a strong, robust commodities program, it is important that we look into the modalities of how we can roll out this approach at a value chain approach, starting, for example, with cocoa, looking not only at the deforestation concept and aspects, but also into the human rights dimension and into the living incomes and living wages approach. So that gives a bit of a more innovative way of how we do policy making. Another piece which clearly needs to include the agroecology approach is the EU-Africa communication, which is now in design stage. And as you know, there will be a summit later on at the end of this year. It's important, and the services will try to push this concept, but it's also important that the member states and the European Parliament also engage. And the first indications of the Parliament, especially of the new Parliament, and we have set up with the FAO the new Parliamentary Alliance Against Hunger, this topic is clearly going to feature high in this cross-party, cross-committee parliamentary, it's an informal setup, and we have strong appetite from a number of MEPs. So it's also important that you approach the MEPs who are close to this concept, so that in the deliberations when we discuss either follow-up to the forestry communication and council conclusions, or the EU-Africa communication, or the Green Deal, this aspect is also embedded. Last but not least, so that I don't elaborate more, is the Food System Summit. You know that in 2021, the United Nations will convene a Food System Summit. It's not clear yet whether it's in Rome or in New York, but this is relatively relevant. Most probably it will be in New York. I think we need to put this agroecology approach as as a strong component, and in the coming days already in the context of the Grüne Woche, which starts tomorrow, there will be discussions also in close collaboration with the German presidency. The German presidency will organize, before they convene the presidency, a high-level SDG2 conference in Berlin on the 5th and the 8th of June. And there is a strong appetite from a number of quarters to actually put this approach as a key component of the SDG2 delivery mode. So, however, this requires, as I said earlier on, a number of push factors from a number of member states. So the interinstitutional aspect from the Commission services, the Parliament, and the member states should actually push this, so that in the run-up between the German presidency in 2020, with all the adoptions of the processes from the Green Deal to the EU-Africa communication, the EU summit, we reach the Food System Summit with an approach which is truly transformational, which is truly systemic, and I think that today's deliberations can feed into this process, so that at country level we can also then program better and scale up our programming, so that this becomes mainstreamed and not just the niche of programming as it was until now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mizzi, for your words. So without any more delay, I give the floor to E.Frison, who has said join us as a co-organizer. In addition, as I mentioned at the beginning, on the core organizers, we also have additional ones specialized on topics, and Emile is one on agroecology. He's a member of the international panel of experts on sustainable food systems. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you also for the work of yourself and your colleagues in organizing this event.
Thank you, Isolina. Thank you for really making this happen here at very short notice. IPES-FOOD is an international panel of experts operating as a think tank on the issue of sustainable food systems. It was established in 2015 and is operating as an independent panel that is really trying to advance and bring the issue of sustainable food systems to the attention of decision makers. I mean, for many years now, at the level of heads of states, people are talking about climate change, but the issue of food systems and its sustainability was not yet. It is getting there now, and I think that is very encouraging. The first substantial report that was produced by IPES-FOOD was called From Uniformity to Diversity, a paradigm shift from industrial agriculture to sustainable, diversified agroecological systems. And this, I think, has helped bringing this issue on the table. Of course, a lot of things have happened since. You mentioned already the Agroecology Symposium. FAO started in 2014, but the second symposium, I think, was a very big step in the direction of putting agroecology really on the radar screen, not as a very marginal thing, but as a way forward for the future. We've seen recently at the CFS the presentation and the discussion of the report of the high-level panel of experts that was chaired by Fergus Sinclair, and that clearly demonstrate the potential of agroecology. And I think we've moved beyond whether this is just one small thing, or I think there is really a consensus emerging now. And a lot of the surroundings of the discussions have evolved very rapidly just in the last 1 year. If you look at a number of reports that I will mention in my presentation later on, it's really very clear that, first of all, we need transformational change in our systems. Just trying to make our current model of agriculture a little bit more efficient, a little bit less damaging to the environment is not going to do the trick. We really need to rethink our model and change the paradigm. And I think the environment has now turned around. Leonard mentioned the Green Deal in Europe that is really providing an opportunity to rethink more in depth. At the UN level, nature-based solutions regarding climate change is really opening the door to look at what agriculture can contribute in a sustainable way. So a lot of things have been changing very rapidly in the last year. We must take this opportunity to make a big step forward. Mr. Gnassounou mentioned agroecology maybe was perceived earlier on as something coming from the north. I would say it's exactly the opposite now. A lot of the very practical, successful examples are coming from the south. It is really farmers' organizations in Africa, in other ACP countries that are showing the way and that we should be listening to. And I'm very pleased that in the second panel, we will hear some very concrete examples of what is happening there. And I think what is also important, and I think that's something that the Commission can also support, is really giving greater voice to farmers' organizations that are demanding to move in that direction and to convince their governments that may be still often influenced by vested interest that want to maintain the current system in place. So I will not say more now, as I will have the opportunity to talk more in the next session. But I really am very pleased that we are here today at the beginning of 2020. That will be a key year to get this really on the agenda in a firm way, as Leonardo already mentioned. So thank you for organizing this together with us, and I'm very pleased to see the audience here around this very important topic. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Émile. Et donc, le dernier intervenant.
I thank you very much, Emile. Our very last speaker would be the director of the CTA since 2010, Michael Hailu, and who before worked in various international centers. The CTA is based in Wageningen in the Netherlands. I thank you, Mr. Hailu.
Thank you very much, Isolina. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Well, I'm really happy to see a few of my old colleagues from the CGIR, E.Frison and Fergus Sinclair, and the other speakers as well. Well, we have heard a lot already in terms of the importance of agroecology to food systems transformation, and many of the challenges that we are facing today. So I'm not going to spend much time repeating that. Obviously, the interest from our perspective, in organizing the briefings and is really to facilitate knowledge exchange and to look at what's the state of the art in any of these topics. And I think it's really timely from what Leonard laid out, that the importance of agroecology is becoming quite critical as we face many of the challenges that we have today in terms of climate change and so on. And for us, the important thing is how do we bring out perspectives from different stakeholders and put it on the policy agenda. So over the years, through the briefings as well as through other interventions, CTA has been really supporting the voice of farmers' organizations, the voice of youth, the voice of other stakeholders, the private sector and so on, to come together with policymakers to be able to, share their perspectives. So I think the value of this kind of forum is to see what do we have in terms of knowledge, in terms of research, what are the developments and so on, and in terms of the policy and the practice where we are, to bring those together and come up with hopefully some action points that could help to advance the topic of agroecology. I think the challenge for us is there are different perspectives of how countries look at the value of agriculture food systems. From the perspective of the African, Caribbean, Pacific, and other developing countries, it's really very much on maximizing food, agricultural productivity, creating employment, jobs, and so on. So how are we going to reconcile this kind of priorities with, the ecological and, the climate challenges that we face, and that agriculture and food systems can contribute to? So these are really quite diverse perspectives. I think Leonard talked about the CADE process, where the idea is to bring the priorities of governments and donor and development partners to be able to bring about agricultural transformation at scale. When we bring new perspectives like agroecology, which are not mainstreamed, how do you reconcile the needs of the governments and so on in terms of food production and the environmental challenges that we are facing? So one has to look at what would be the right policy forum to bring out these kind of issues and to be able to really take action, that's concrete. Because one of the challenges we face when you talk about agroecology is if farmers are trying to transfer into that system, there are risks that are not really supported by governments. And most of the investments are going to traditional subsidy programs and so on. And even extension systems are not addressing this kind of challenges. So how do we make sure that some of these issues are integrated into the research extension system? The necessary support structure exists for countries to be able to support this kind of innovations, and integrating the traditional knowledge as well. So from our CTS perspective, we have done a lot of work around the knowledge agenda, being a knowledge institution. We have done a lot of work in terms of capturing traditional knowledge practices, including agroecology practices, that contribute, especially in terms of climate change adaptation, and which we have documented a lot of those practices in our different publications and so on. We also facilitate a lot of South-South exchange. So you'll find a rich resource of information and knowledge in our databases, which we hope to be able to preserve and continue to make available in the future as well. So with those words, I look forward to the discussions, and I hope we have a lively interaction and hopefully come up with some concrete action points that would be useful for policy and practice. So thank you, and have a good briefing this morning.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Hailu.